Kayaks, canoes, and paddleboards have become one of the most popular ways to fish in shallow water. But it's not inshore fishing anymore. Now anglers are taking boats to the extreme and catching monster fish offshore. Tonight, we're talking paddling here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, powered by Harbor Trucks and presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back to another week on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. Captain Rick and I are excited to get this show started today because we're taking our paddles and we're going fishing, right, Rick?
Absolutely. You know, Bree, shallow water fishing is where my roots really began. Fishing in ultra shallow water for redfish in Everglades National Park. And
were you in a kayak, canoe, or paddleboard?
No, but we were in a little tiny boat.
Well, that'll do it.
Yeah.
That'll do it, right. Some of the kayaks and paddleboards are actually tiny boat size these days. You know what I mean?
You're absolutely
right. All right, well, let's see how Dave Ferrell at the CCA Workbench is going to guide us into the paddling frenzy today. You going to paddle us away, Dave?
No, I'm going to let Colin do it all. We got a guy coming in here who knows this stuff backwards and forwards, and we're going to let Colin take it away.
Perfect. Well, I love the sound of that. All right, let's paddle on into the Bell's Central East region and see what Captain Jim Ross is up to on FaceTime. Good to see you again, Jim.
How you doing there, Jimmy?
Oh, doing fantastic this week. It's good to see you guys too, and Dave as well. You know, paddlecraft of all sizes can be found in our Bell's Central East region. And a lot of the guys, like you were saying, Rick, those guys are going out and doing things just off the nearshore waters and catching some really great fish out there. Tarpon, jacks, sharks, all kinds of stuff seems to be working really well. And, you know, if the guys get their R&R tackle sabiki rigs out there and jig up a couple of baits, they can run back out and then they can deploy those back out in the surf break. Now, if you're looking for sharks, or if that's what, you know, the most prevalent fish is, or even king mackerel, wire leaders recommended. Now, if there's tarpon, jacks, bonita, snook, any of those species, then a 50 to 80 pound test leader of Suffolk's fluorocarbon is usually recommended to keep you from getting broke off. Most of the guys I've talked to are looking for water temperatures basically right around the 75-degree mark before venturing out to launch their paddlecraft to the surf. Now, there's two reasons they're doing this. One is because it's pretty cold if you have to get in the boat after you've been wandering through the surf. And two, typically once the water gets above that temperature, then you're talking better bait, better fish around that bait, and just more productive fishing.
All right, Jimmy, what else you got for us offshore, bub?
Well, heading offshore, the dolphin bite is starting to bust wide open. There's been some decent fish, especially as we come off the backside of this April full moon. Some of the biggest fish of the year should be showing up. And so you guys and gals, you know, look for the water temperature breaks, the weeds, the rips. That's where you're going to find these dolphin. Most of the time, if you're fishing out of any of the inlets in this area, you're going to look at 8 to 15 pound fish being the average size fish. But when you're trolling ballyhoo out there on some of those rips, 50-pound fish can be really, you know, that's one of those things that you can come across every single spring is a nice big bull like that. And I've got a picture here that was sent to me of Candace with a nice Central East region dolphin that was caught on a blue and white islander and a ballyhoo combo in 300 feet of water.
All right, let's go inshore. Yeah, go ahead.
Swinging inshore. Trout bites been good one day and slow the next. And the cold fronts that we've had here recently have been changing the bite. So what you want to do is those overslot fish right now are still in their spawning mode. They're still in the shallower waters following bird dogging those mullet pods. So look for areas on the flats with slightly stained water and plenty of mullet. Once you find that, you're going to find some really nice fish following around them. But here's the secret. A lot of those fish are not biting bigger baits right now. So switch back down to that 4-inch saltwater assassin sea shad or the 4-inch assassin shrimp. Now, good colors right now in the Mosquito Lagoon are the goldfish and the golden brim color. And then in the Indian River, the gray ghost color seems to be working best. And my last species of the day is snook. I tell you, the inlets are getting ready to get loaded up. All of those bigger fish that have been, all those adult fish that have been in the backwaters and in those little creeks and areas, they're all starting to come out and they're going to get ready for their summer spawning activity. So live pinfish, croakers, especially mahara at Sebastian Inlet lately, and pilchers at Canaveral, those seem to be the best baits to use right now. You want to rig those on a VMC 7385 circle hook, and you want to use the 5/0 or the 6/0 size when you're targeting snook with those baits. You want to have just enough weight to get this bait down into the snook strike zone. And if you're fishing along the beaches, it can be really good there as well. So you can go out there with lip diving plugs, jigs, all kinds of really, stuff that looks like a bait fish and do really good on those fish. And I've got a really nice picture of a fish here from Nicholas with a nice beach snook that he landed on a live pilchard.
Hey, great report this week. Way to start us off on FaceTime, Bub.
job,
We
Jen.
appreciate you. You're looking good. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Central East region, Jimmy. He says that offshore, sharks on the beaches use chunk baits and heavy wire leaders just outside the surf break for sharks up to 200 pounds. Ooh. And then inshore, speckled trout in the flats use assassin sea shad tails and 1/8-ounce jig heads near the mullet pots.
You okay?
They need to tell them people that are up there surfing and all that stuff. And
Freaking out. Stop freaking out. It's okay.
200-pound shark could eat you.
It could, and your kayak and your paddleboard.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Boat it is for this man. All right, let's drift on over to the Eddie Panhandle region, where Captain Pat Deneen has your weekend report. Hey, Pat, any sharks up there?
Brie, we do have sharks here, but they're here in numbers later once the water warms up. But the paddle fishing is definitely gaining a huge amount of popularity throughout the Panhandle region. More and more anglers are participating every year. Have historically the craft of choice. Stand-up paddleboards are becoming much more popular. In fact, I think maybe even they probably have tilted the balance. Anglers are targeting everything from trout, redfish, and sheepshead in the bays to mackerel, tarpon, snappers out in the Gulf and other reef species. And several sailfish have been caught from both paddleboards and kayaks over the past few seasons in the Yeti Panhandle region. Personally, I prefer the added visibility afforded from a paddleboard. And the stability issue isn't really an issue if you pick the right one. I got George List, South Walton. He fishes off a catamaran paddleboard. It's outfitted with a rocket launcher, a leaning post, a live well cooler. It's a really sweet rig, and it's very, very stable. Either platform, they're both stealthy, lightweight, allowing anglers to get closer to the fish, and also the fish area is not accessible to larger craft. And there's a photo of Harry Noodles Madison. He's a paddleboard fishing guru, and there's a beautiful redfish he caught sight fishing in Chattahoochee Bay just recently using a soft plastic bait.
All right, Pat, your phone's cutting in and out a little, so I don't know if you need to get closer to the home unit or whatever, but just check, keep that.
Yeah, I'll try to do better.
All right, Bubby, go ahead. Redfish.
Speaking of redfish, fishing's been really good throughout the Panhandle this past week. In Panama City, there's excellent numbers of fish being caught in the pass and along the beaches. You want to use live baits in the pass, fished on the bottom with a Carolina rig. Along the beaches, cast soft plastic swim baits or in Chattahoochee Bay, also in the pass and along the beach. But there's also good slot being found on the grass flats. Gold spoons, soft plastics, and twitch baits will excel in those areas. Target 1 to 3 feet of water, particularly patchy bottom areas, with a mix of grass and mud. And then further west, or grass and sand, further west, Lucky Chucky has been tearing up the redfish in the sound, fishing the docks, particularly on days with higher water. The low water days and the calm days, the fish are really spooky, so you may have to get out of the boat and wait to reach them. The bay fish are mainly less than 27 inches, while the Gulf side fish can run well over 30 inches. And then moving offshore, this year has been actually seen a very good or a much better cobia run than we've had the past several seasons combined. And there's a lot of nice-sized fish being caught. The water temperature is pushing 70, and we've had some beautiful days with lots of sunshine, perfect conditions for hunting these migrating fish. The cobia will be swimming west and beyond, out past the color change. East to southeast winds encourage them to swim up near the surface where they can be sight cast to. Use a heavy spinning tackle rig with 30 to 40-pound braid, 30 to 60-pound leaders, brightly colored jigs or live baits on a quality J hook or circle hook on your preference. Bait of choice, eels, finfish, and crabs, and many a finicky cobia. I couldn't turn down a squid or two rigged up on a light leader. Make sure you have a rod ready at all times, even if you're not in cobia. We caught a 50-pounder today that floated up next to the boat while we were targeting other fish, and fortunately we were ready for her and caught her. Limit is 1 per angler or 2 per boat, whichever is less. The fish run very large to small, and there's a photo of a big one caught this past week on the boat up out of Destin,
Wow.
Captain Brady Bowman, and that was a 77-pounder, and I know a 85 or so was caught the last couple days.
Dang.
All right, tell us.
Okay. Yeah, further offshore, you're going to find plenty of triggerfish and vermilion snapper. They're both on the same type of structure and the same tackle and techniques. Look for the fish on natural and artificial bottom in 80 to 200 feet of water. You're going to catch them using a 2-hook chicken rig baited with either cut bait, squid, or minnows. And then the fish bite chunks or strips. They make a great alternative to the real thing, and they stay on the hook very well. And particular importance from the triggerfish, they've got a small mouth, sharp teeth, notorious bait stealers. So to catch them, use a smaller hook and a small piece of bait just to cover the hook. Both triggers and mingos will come well up into the water column. So hit the bottom with your lead and then bring it up 8 or 10 cranks. And both are extremely good eating. The triggers can run up to about and over 10 pounds, and the vermilion snappers run 12 to 18, maybe 20 inches.
All right, thanks so much, Pat. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region, redfish on the grass flats in Chakawaki Bay, especially near the major points. And then offshore, break out the fly rod and throw big poppers to schools of jack crevalles along the Gulf beaches.
All right, Rick, we're going to take a short break, but when we return, we're headed to the Star-Tron Central West region and over to the CCA workbench for Academy Sports Rigs and Techniques with Dave Ferrell. Dave.
We're going to Jabberwocky Bay.
Jabberwockies. Love the Jabberwocky.
Choctahatchee.
Choctahatchee.
Whoa.
Chukaluchi. All right, guys, we'll be right back. We'll work on it.
Stop chopping.
Stop chopping.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Harbor Trucks. Visit harbortrucks.com. Yamaha, reliability starts here. Contender Boats, always in the game. Sirius XM Marine, weather, fishing info, and channel surfing. And Daiquiri Deck, Sarasota's favorite place to meet.
Hello, Harbor Truck fans. Lee Titchworth, Fleet and Commercial Manager here at Harbor Trucks with Chris Freeland, owner of Harbor Trucks, and Fred Toon, owner of Howard's Pool World. Fred, why do you buy your trucks from us?
Well, it's the people, the product, and the processes. The 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty is just icing on the cake. I strongly suggest Harbor Trucks.
Harbor Trucks, the place to buy your next truck.
Meet the water's lightest 25 horsepower 4-stroke, the all-new Yamaha F25, the new standard and 25 horsepower portable 4-strokes. At just 126 pounds, it's got the best power-to-weight ratio of any 25 horsepower 4-stroke on the water. With performance that bests the previous Yamaha F25 and features like Yamaha's VTS for precise trolling speeds, batteryless EFI, built-in resting pads, and carry handles, it's the perfect portable power for small boats.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle.
When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
We're here at the Academy Sports Rigging and Techniques at the CCA workbench, and we're going to be talking about some kayaking. And right off the bat, you know, inshore and offshore, what do you have to do before you go anywhere in a kayak?
So before you even think about getting in your kayak, going inshore or offshore, I like to do a little bit of a safety checklist. So I want to make sure I have all the essentials I need in case something does go wrong.
Right.
So number one, you got to have a VHF radio. Especially offshore, so you can communicate with the Coast Guard or anybody else that's out there with you.
Your buddies, in case they're catching fish, too.
Right. Number two, you definitely want a life jacket. You want to find one that's comfortable for you, that you can wear all day and not have any issues with it.
Right. Allows you to paddle as well, I imagine.
Yeah.
Freedom of
definitely
movement.
need freedom for your shoulders and everything. Number three, you need a visibility flag, one that can sit high above the waves if you're offshore and a boat can't see you. So I recommend like 5 or 6 feet.
Right.
And then number 4, you want some sort of noise-making device, whether it be a air horn or a whistle. That way, if someone doesn't see you, you got to flag them down and make sure you get them out of the way.
You definitely want to be seen when you're
right.
that low to the water.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's a bunch of nuts out there. Hey, I'm here. All right, now you know we're talking about inshore and offshore. What are the main differences when you're going to start off inshore, right?
So I'll go ahead and start with my inshore setup. Mainly, I try to keep them similar, but the main difference is I can take more equipment inshore because I'm not too worried about if I do flip. Chances are you're going to be in shallower water and you can get your stuff back.
Might be able to get your stuff back.
Right. So this is my kayak. I fish inshore and offshore out of it.
This is a brand new one, right?
Brand new Vibe Yellowfin 120.
Very nice.
And I use it both inshore and offshore. And I try to keep the setup almost identical because the cool thing about this kayak is they now have a splash guard in the front tank well.
Right.
And so it's really good for inshore if you're sight fishing for bonefish. You can put your paddle right through there. And if you're standing up, your rod's easily accessible right here for you to grab and be stealthy. Now, if there's a lot of wind and you find yourself getting pushed towards the fish you're trying to catch, that would be the perfect time for you to grab your power pole micro and stick it right through a scupper hole and keep your ground on that grass flat.
Very nice.
And then obviously you can tie this off, right, Kyle?
Right, absolutely.
Cool.
And then going offshore, I try to keep the same setup, except I will limit the amount of things I bring, especially rods. I'll keep it to 3 rods, 2 live bait rods and 1 for jigging in case I'm slow trolling around offshore and I see something on my Garmin like a wreck and I want to drop a jig on it.
Right. The less gear you have when you go offshore, the better off you are.
Right. And I keep that rod holder right there because for boats, you know, you have an outrigger so you can spread out your live baits.
Right.
On a kayak, it's a little bit different, so you don't really have the capability to have an outrigger. So I'll make this rod holder point outwards to keep that bait separated from the one on this side.
Right. He's going to go over. So what kind of fishing are you actually doing when you're out there offshore? What kind of species are you targeting?
So offshore, you can target anything from sailfish, wahoo, kingfish, tuna. This time of year, everybody's targeting the tuna on their vertical jigs. You just go out to 300 feet of water, check your Garmin, and you'll just see them all over the place on your sonar chart. It's amazing.
Right. And you just drop the jig to the fish?
Drop the jig.
Like you're never stopping, right? Because
you're never stopping.
You're always moving.
Yeah, so if you're jigging, you're always slow trolling your baits because you're fighting a 3 to 4 mile per hour current. But if you do see a wreck, the good thing is you can just pass it up, anticipate where that drift's going to take you, and then when you drop your jig, you should end up right on that wreck where those fish are.
Right. Now, when you have to go for those distances when you're drifting, do you make any contingency plans for having to paddle all the way back, or?
Some people, what they'll do is they'll set up a drift where they'll start at one point and they'll end up at another, and they'll have like a friend of theirs pick them up or something just so they don't have to paddle the entire day.
Right.
Other times, you're pretty much on your own. You're fighting that current all day.
Oof. Well, do you like to troll live baits? I mean, do you keep baits alive on this gear?
Yeah, you can put in this crate back here. You can put a 5-gallon bucket with an aerator. Some people will even set it up with a bilge pump to make it into a live well.
Right.
And so for my outrigger rod holder, I'll use a conventional setup, and I'll send a bait down with a trolling weight or an egg sinker about 50, 60 feet. And then on the other side, I'll fish the surface just so like my baits are separated and I'm fishing the water column, so I'm trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone there.
Keep one up on the top and
Right.
one down deep. Do you ever catch any groupers or stuff like that with a deep bait?
You can. If the current's really ripping, it's very difficult, but oftentimes people actually catch them more on jigs than live bait.
Yeah, we do have a problem with current here.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
When you're on the inshore side, do you target any snook or snakeheads or any of that? Do you go into freshwater with this kayak?
Absolutely. Freshwater, especially down here in South Florida, we have all the exotics, peacock bass. You can sight fish for those, largemouth bass.
I imagine it would be
snakehead.
perfect for that snakehead fishing.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you can get really shallow.
Colin, boat's easy to launch, really easy to launch. One-man job?
Yeah, one-man job. Especially this kayak's about 62 pounds, so it's really easy just to lift up, and it's a really good stow-and-go vessel.
I like it.
Well, I think we're about done here, aren't we?
Well, good job, fellas. Y'all did a great job. Don't you think, Brie? They did a good job.
Oh my gosh, that was like the best rigs and techniques ever. You're in a kayak, you're almost flipping over. Colin's doing a great job. Gosh, guys, you got it going on over there.
Yep.
All right, if you're thinking of taking up some paddleboarding or kayak fishing in the Central West region, you're in luck, right, Captain Page?
Yes, I am. How are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing great. Just, got a kayak on set, having fun.
All right. We do a lot of kayaking over here in the StarTron Central West region. And starting off with some of the best kayaking is down in Charlotte Harbor. They have it from the East Wall, which is from Burnt Store down to Pirate Harbor. Lots of kayak launches, which are all on a Charlotte County book that you can get at the courthouse. And then working your way to Placida, they still have kayak launches and canoe launches. And then working on the Gulf of Mexico from Stump Pass to the Venice jetties. Lots of beach access that you can launch your kayaks or canoes from. Real simple. And then getting into Sarasota County, Bayside and Gulf Side launches from Turtle Beach to Lido Beach to Longboat Key up to Bradenton Beach and Anna Maria Island. Now, one really neat place we have is over on the Manatee River in a place called Robertson Preserve, which is just along the pines there behind Perico Harbor. And it's all kayak and canoe, no motorized boats at all allowed in there. And you can spend days in there kayaking around. Last but not least, Fort DeSoto, one of the favorite areas for people with kayaks and canoes to not only kayak and canoe, but to camp out and then spend time kayaking and canoeing. And you can paddle over to Egmont Key, weather permitting, and make sure you play the tide right because it's a strong tide rushing through that. We also have kayak fishing guides in our region. One of them is my friend Steve Gibby Gibson. He's been doing kayak guide now for going on 10 years. I've got a couple photos tonight of Hobie Pro staffers from Economy Tackle, David Gurr with a beautiful sailfish, and Joe Forsythe with a nice redfish, and those are in their Hobie kayaks. Staying inshore, speckled trout. Rick, I don't know if it's the water temperature or just we're finally really getting into spring, but a lot of trout have moved into the entire region. Starting down south, I'm getting good reports of trout on the grass flats on the outside of Devilfish and Sandfly Key, as well as grass flats along the west side of Lemon Bay, south of Stump Pass, and then north. Even some are showing up in Sarasota Bay, which was hit pretty good with red tide off of Whale Key. Lots of trout around the Fort DeSoto area, Emerson Point, Rattlesnake Key, and the deeper grass off of Bishop's Harbor. A variety of tactics are working, including surface plugs, soft plastics like the Saltwater Assassin 4-inch sea shad in the Houdini pattern, rigged on a 1/4-ounce jig head, free line live pilchards, or another good tactic if you're looking for big trout is try putting a popping cork above a big pinfish or grunt. Trout photo tonight of a good client of mine, Craig Carmichael, with one of many trout he caught on topwater. Rolling offshore, Captain Tim Noe of the Flying Fish Fleet reports real good red grouper action in 80 to 120 feet of water, and he's doing really well on them over Hard Bottom and Swiss Cheese area, straight out off of Sarasota, north to Anna Maria. Frozen sardines and squid have been the number one baits. He's setting up, and he's coming up with a few gags while he's been catching the red groupers. Got a nice red grouper photo of a party creel that they had on the board when they got in at the Flying Fish at Marina Jacks. Last but not least, the Kingfish still remains consistent with guys getting out there. 5 to 11 miles seems to be the number. There's been a few in closer, but the majority of fish have pushed out deeper because the water's starting to warm up. We're up in the mid-70s now. Still big schools of thread fins everywhere. They're mixed in. There's going to be black-tip sharks, tunas as well. So that being said, it's really good fishing in the StarTron Central West region, and I look forward to seeing you soon, Rick. I know we're going to get together and start fishing here next week.
All right, Captain Page, you did a good job. Hey, next week I want you to raise that camera up a little because we're getting a booger check over there.
It's all about the angles, you know?
Yeah, man.
No, you're good. You're clear. You're clear.
All right, we'll see you later. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Daiquiri Deck Central West hotspots. He says offshore blackfin tuna's bite remains strong with the fish as close to 5 to 25 miles out. The key is finding the big bait balls with fish feeding on them. And then inshore, speckled trout drift the deeper flats off of Emerson and Rattlesnake Key with the top water plug or maybe a free line pilchard.
You had to know he was going to do that.
Yeah, oh
It's
yeah.
a booger check. You got to do it. You got to do it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, there are free webinar sessions from SiriusXM Marine highlighting their most popular weather and fishing features you're going to want to check out. So go to SiriusXM.com/marine webinars to sign up today. Hey, it's free and you're learning stuff, right?
Right.
It's perfect. I love that, guys. All right, we're headed to the Keys and Northeast regions of Florida next. Plus, we're going to tell you how you can win a fishing trip with Rick and I to Casa Vieja Lodge. So you're going to want to stick around, and we'll be right back on the Florida
Insider Fishing Report.
Okay, we'll get there.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Swift, Silent, Secure, Bass Assassin, and Saltwater Assassin. The best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure. Garmin, join the club. Kubota, find a Kubota dealer near you at gokubota.com. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
I'm Captain Rick Murphy, and I'm a life member of CCA. Why am I so involved with CCA, you ask? Because I want our fisheries to be in better shape for my kids and their kids. CCA is working to ensure the future of recreational fisheries and the rights of recreational anglers. The future of fishing starts today with you. How do you want to leave things with your kids? If you're like me, you'll want to make the right choice and go to joinccaflorida.com right now.
Harbor Trucks has the largest selection of new and used car and truck inventory in Southwest Florida. Our used vehicle inventory goes through a 120-point inspection process performed by certified technicians. Exclusive to Florida Insider Fishing Report viewers is our Peace of Mind Harbor Truck Warranty. If you don't see what you're looking for, give us a call and we can get it for you. Go to harbortrucks.com and click on the Florida Insider Fishing Report tab.
Real Legends Performance Clothing. Everything you need to be comfortable on the water all day long. Keeps you cool, dry, and protected from the sun. Durable performance technology at an unbeatable value. Shop anytime or go to reallegends.com to find a Bell store near you.
I'm 1,000 miles from nowhere, and there's no place I'd rather be. I'm 1,000 miles from nowhere, and time don't matter to me, 'cause I'm 1,000 miles from nowhere.
Hi, Kelly here with Harbor Trucks. We wanted to provide Florida Insider Fishing Report viewers with more buying options. So we've added certified pre-owned vehicles to our inventory. And I'm here with Matt, our service manager, to tell us a little bit more about the certification process. Matt?
Well, basically, Kelly, every certified pre-owned that goes through our shop gets a 167-point inspection. So anything to brakes, air filters, cabin filters, we check transmissions, we check engines, frame, body, unibody, anything that pertains to the drivability of the vehicle, and anything that pertains to the safety of the vehicle. We pull a national service history on all the vehicles so we can tell what kind of warranty has been done in the past, what kind of other maintenance items have been performed on that vehicle in the past as well. Whenever you get down to the nuts and bolts of the vehicle, everything is pulled by Carfax. If there's any accidents that show on the vehicle, that'll come up to us, it'll red flag to us, and then those vehicles will be thrown out of the certified pre-owned system. Not only do you get that kind of service with a certified pre-owned, you get a 24-hour roadside assistance and a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. All the vehicles have Nissan certified parts, and all the work is performed by certified pre-owned technicians.
Matt, how would someone know that they're actually getting a certified pre-owned vehicle?
Well, in every certified pre-owned vehicle, they're going to get a checklist. This checklist is going to be with every car that anybody buys in a certified pre-owned.
What about the interior of my car?
Interior, anything that has any holes, scratches, rips, that'll all be taken care of, either replaced or repaired.
Well, Matt, it sounds to me like the most difficult decision is going to be which one to choose. Remember, Harbor Trucks is the place to buy.
So you know, Brie, on Harbor Trucks, the Titan specifically,
Yeah.
100,000-mile warranty. Nobody in the industry has that on their trucks.
Exactly, and a good deal is good, but customer service in the end is going to get you there in the
Absolutely,
end. Right?
and right now,
very important.
$15,000 off. So that's serious money.
Got to get your Harbor Trucks.
That's it, baby.
All right, Rick. Well, I guess this is the perfect time to announce our Harbor Trucks giveaway, guys. So listen up. Harbor Trucks is partnered with Casa Vieja Lodge, and 2 lucky winners will get a 3-day, 4-night trip to fish in Guatemala with Rick and I at Casa Vieja. So go enter, because we want to fish with you on our website at FloridaInsiderFishingReport.com. That is going to be such a fun trip. I'm looking forward to it.
It is.
Thanks for including me.
Oh, I have to. You're my sidekick.
I know.
Like the one over there.
I know. 2 peas in a pod. All right, how nice it would be to be fishing from a paddleboard in the Garmin Keys region. All right, Captain Randy, make our weekend paddleboarding excursion possible. Let's go.
Hey, good evening, fish fans. You know, here in the Garmin Keys region, there is no shortage of paddleboards and kayakers up and down the Keys. I mean, starting in Key Largo all the way down to Key West, most every marina right now has a little paddleboard section or a kayak section, and they're very popular to rent for a half an hour or an hour. And a lot of people just want to get out on the water, get out in the bay. You're not really traveling too far out, so everything is real close to home. And most of it's done on the bay side, and usually with our prevailing winds, it's the calm side of the Keys, so that's where it's most popular. There's a guy in Key Largo, Casey Stewart, with KayakKeyLargo.com. He kayaks and paddleboards out of Dolphins Plus in Key Largo. And what he does is a little different. He'll take you on his pontoon boat in the backcountry, and he'll take you to some of the islands or creeks or some really cool places to kind of explore. He does 2 and 4 hour trips, and it's kind of nice. It's like a mothership where he'll take you back there, and he'll put you in the water, and he'll just wait for you to get done, and you'll paddle around, then he'll take you back. Kind of a neat experience, a little bit different than the kind of the other places around town where you just rent them from shore. But he's got a great operation up in Key Largo. The tarpon fishing right now is still pretty good. You know, we had a big push of them. Now they're getting a little lean, and I'm expecting another push coming. We usually have another body of fish that show up about now. But there's some in the backcountry. Most of the fish are around the bridges. And for the fly fishing guys, there's some fish moving on the ocean, which is really exciting to the fly fishermen because they can sight cast to these schools of tarpon coming down the shoreline. Now, right now, they're traveling to the south, so that's a kind of a northeastern direction when you try to throw your fly, and it's a little difficult for some people to get that fly into the wind and out of the boat. But that's what they're doing. Now, your bait guys with mullet and crabs around the bridges, that's still the bait of choice right now. The Upper Keys bridges, Channel 2, Channel 5, Long Key, those are kind of the hot spots up this way. And it really doesn't matter if it's an incoming or outgoing as long as you have the water moving. And then, of course, 7 Mile Bridge, the famous Bahia Honda Bridge, is the place to be. And there's plenty of fish down that way from what I've been hearing. You know, I've got a photo of Jeff. Jeff and Dan were here last week with Sirius Radio, and we went over some things with the new stuff they have on there with their weather and their tides and their wind and currents and stuff. And it was really interesting. But Jeff had a bucket list tarpon, and I've got a picture of us getting that job done.
Well, thanks for taking those guys from Sirius XM Weather. Randy, you did a great job, and I know he's really stoked about that fish. What do you got for us offshore, Bubba?
You know, the blackfin tuna, this time of year, guys are going offshore looking for dolphin. And in the Upper Keys, we have the offshore humps that are out in about 600 to 800 feet of water. And you're going to pass by those usually as you're going to the dolphin grounds. And guys are catching some nice small tunas on feathers, which if you want to just catch some fish, get them in the box and have them for dinner, It's an easy way to do it. And then if you really want to target the bigger tunas, you got to go out there with live bait like pilchards, and you're chumming with the pilchards to get these fish up near the surface so you can catch them. Now, a little bit different kind of fishing and something I really enjoy, down in Key West, they have some great tuna fishing as well behind the shrimp boats. And as the shrimp boats are cleaning their shrimp and their trawl, they have the tunas chummed up behind the boat like you can't believe. And Captain Chris Trossett with Real Fly Charters out of Key West, he does a lot of that, catches them on fly, light tackle, and so forth. And I've got a picture of one of his anglers with a nice big tuna from down there.
Yeah, that's a stud, man. That's awesome. What else you got for me, bub?
Yum.
You know, we talked about the sail fishing, and we were a little early when we started the show, but the last week or so, conditions have lined up. The sails have been tailing. You know, we had that hard northeast wind. You had that current into the wind, and it was a tailing condition, and guys from Isla Mirada to Marathon were getting into the sailfish pretty good. When you had the days with the wind, they were tailing. When the wind was a little light, guys were catching them in the kite, and it was some pretty good fishing. I've got a picture of Marty Lewis on the main attraction with a rigger full of sailfish. He found that tailing condition, and if you go on your serious weather, there's a section on there with wind and waves, and I could actually see on that where that current edge was, and I was saying that here's a current into the wind situation. There's going to be tailing fish, and that's exactly what was going on.
You're absolutely right. You know, bub. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Florida Keys region. He says that inshore, we're going to look for the tarpon, fish the bridges with live mullet or crabs, and then on the incoming tide has been the best. And then offshore, those blackfin tunas fish early and late in the day to take advantage of the low light conditions. Troll dark feathers and 200 feet behind the boat for dinner-sized tunas.
All right, Rick, well, what are the Keys without some tournaments? So let's see what's going on, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, the Nick Sheehan Dolphin Rodeo, scheduled for May 3rd through the 5th in Isla Mirada, honors the memory of the Florida Keys student with a scholarship fund. Prizes include $25,000 to the angler catching a dolphin that beats the state record. The Tom Thumb Marathon Offshore Bull and Cow Dolphin Tournament, set for May 3rd through the 5th, features a guaranteed grand prize of $10,000 to the team that catches the largest bull and cow dolphin combined. The Tarponian Tournament, scheduled for May 4th through the 9th, in Marathon mandates teams fish with a different captain each of at least 3 evenings. Teams also rotate among 3 major bridge channels in the region. The Mother's Day Dolphin Tournament, May 10th and 11th in Marathon, is a fundraiser for Habitat for Humanity of the Middle Keys. You can find information on all the Florida Keys tournaments by going to flakeys.com.
Absolutely.
Hey, that Mother's Day tournament?
Yeah, man.
I can fish that now.
Okay, come on, let's sign you a cat deal.
We're now in the Strike Zone Northeast region with Captain Tommy Derringer. Tommy, the need for the paddle is strong up there from what I hear.
It is. You know what, guys? The Strike Zone Northeast region is just an awesome place to get your paddle and your yak on. You know, I spoke to Dave Workman from Strike Zone. He tells me that the kayaks and especially the paddle boards are flying off the shelves these days, with tons of new anglers going that route. Now, along with getting a great workout from all the paddling, those are the perfect watercrafts to access some really great fishing spots in my region. Now, to our south, we have the Tomoka Basin and Pellissier Flats. In St. Augustine, we have Guana Lake, and in Jacksonville, we have Chickapit Bay, as well as creeks like Clapboard and Simpsons, and that's just to name a few. Most of those areas, they are accessible by boat on the higher tide stages, but when the tide gets low, like we have early in the morning this weekend, that's when those kayaks and paddleboards really shine. It gets really shallow in those areas at low tide, but the fish, they'll stay in those slightly deeper pockets even when most of the water is sucked out of there. Being able to fish those shallow areas, even on that low tide, is one reason so many people are taking to kayaking and or paddleboarding. Now, there are quite a few anglers that also go deeper and get out along the beach and hook into some big stuff like sharks and tarpon and kingfish, all from their paddlecraft. Now, just make sure you pick your days and keep an eye on the weather if you're going to do that. Now, if you're new to this kind of fishing, there are quite a few really good kayak and paddleboard guides in the Northeast region. I would highly recommend booking one of them. They can teach you everything from just paddling around and then also catching some really big fish. Now, speaking of great kayak guides, I've got a picture that Captain Bart Schwab from ActionKayakAdventures.com sent me. This is Artem with a nice slot redfish he caught up in the shallow stuff on a recent guided trip with Bart. Now, staying inshore, I thought I'd talk about the flounder again this week. You know, there's a lot of finger mullets showing up throughout the region this week, and the flounder are following right behind them. The best bite has been on the last of the outgoing tide. The smaller creek runouts near the area inlets have been holding some nice fish. The docks around Porpoise Point and downtown in St. Augustine have also been producing some nice flounder. I spoke to Captain Rob Bennett from coastalfish.net, and he tells me he's been catching some nice flounder in those areas with most of the fish in that 15, even up to 20-inch range. Now, Captain Rob sent me a picture. This is Luke and Jason Lyons with a big flounder that Luke reeled in with a little help from his dad.
All right.
Now, guys, before we go offshore, just real quick, I wanted to tell you about a tournament that's happening this weekend in the region. The Flagler Sport Fishing Club is hosting its 23rd annual Spring Classic inshore tournament this Saturday, the 27th. It benefits the disabled American veterans and also helps the CCA out. They donate some of their live redfish to be tagged and for the Star Tournament. If you'd like more information about that, go to flaglersportfishing.com. And now moving offshore, you know, guys, the cat is out of the bag. The cobia are on the beach. You know, it's not wide open out there just yet, but there are a few cobia following the manta rays along the beaches throughout the region. They've been scattered all the way from down in Ponce, all the way to the Florida-Georgia border. Now, there's also been some fish hanging out along the rip lines at the inlets. Now, when you're out there, there's a lot of people looking for them, so just remember to be courteous out there to your fellow cobia fishermen. And also be on the lookout for some triple tail that are floating around. We saw a few yesterday when I was out there. They tend to be around the same time as we get our cobia. Now, also offshore, you know, all the captains that I spoke to this week, they were fired up about the mahi showing up throughout the region. I spoke to Captain Billy Hunsicker from EndlessSummerCharters.com. He tells me he's been looking for a good edge or an eddy right there on the Gulf Stream. Billy said it's been a little tough to find as it's been broken up a bit, but when it does come together, the mahi should be thick. And he also said the grass has been scattered, but if you can find a good solid weed line, you should be in luck as you're going to find a bunch of fish around there as well. Captain Billy's pulling the standard naked ballyhoo as well as some chuggers. And he mentioned that it's been a good mixed bag out there. They've been catching some tuna, even a few nice wahoo mixed in as well. I've got one last picture here. Captain Colin Phillips sent me this picture of Captain Trey Jones with a stud dolphin he caught east of St. Augustine.
What is that?
Whoa, they must call. They got to call that something other than a dolphin, dog. That is like.
That's a dolphin.
That's a mahi madness right there. Dang, that's a big stud. Thank you so much, Tommy.
Mahi.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's a mahi of mahis.
Triple mahi.
All right, we better go because we could go on all night with this. We'll see you later. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the strike zone hotspots from the Northeast region inshore at Mayport and St. Augustine inlets. Fish an hour on either side of the high or the low tide with live shrimp, minnows, or mullets for a variety of species. And then offshore, dolphin east of St. Augustine in the Gulf Stream eddies. You saw the picture. Look for weed lines and any floating debris as well.
Yeah, that's kind of a viral picture, if you ask me. That was crazy. All
was
right, are you ready to get on the water any way you can in the Southeast region this weekend? Well, we're bringing you your captain next. But first, Dave has scoped out some new products over there. Dave, what's going on?
Well, we're going to clean things up with a Starbright Stains 101.
Stains 101, your new nickname.
Yeah, that's
Finally, we have found something to clean up his act.
My wife would probably say that's my nickname.
It is. Okay, we'll be back.
Stains 101.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. For all, for less. Soft Science, Supreme Comfort Footwear, Real Legends, exclusively at Bell's. Okuma, Inspired Fishing. Discover Crystal River, Florida. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 offshore four-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 four-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
do you aim a 36-yard shot with a 30-yard fixed pin at a 15-degree angle with a 7-inch holdover without moving a single pin? Easy. You get one of these. Zero, the auto-ranging digital bow sight from Garmin.
Well, the CCA Workbench is where all the new products take place, and
Yes,
it
sir.
is that time for you to earn your money.
Yeah,
So
why
what are
not?
we
Well, let's
talking
start.
about?
Here we go. We got the Yeti Hopper. It's going to catch me right there. Yeti Hopper Flip. This would be perfect, by the way, for the kayak or the canoe or whatever you want to have. It's a nice little thing. But before you take that zipper all the way around, I want to show off that zipper part, because this is a heavy waterproof zipper that they have on here, the Hydrolock zipper. But it's also got this little thing called the U-Dock right here. And when you pull this zipper all the way over, it seals it up.
Right.
And it will not leak. Water can't get in there, and water can't get out. So it's a really, that's one of the keys to making sure that stuff stays cold, is to keeping the air out. And that's what that Hydrolock zipper keeps, water and air out.
And
so
you
you
know-
can tip it over when it's full and don't have to worry about
And
it.
now it's a flotation device for any emergency
You
purposes.
probably could.
No doubt.
Yep, it's got the dry hide interior and exterior, just like all the hoppers do. So, it's almost impossible to punch a hole in it. It's the same material that big whitewater rafts are made out of. It's got an 800 denier nylon. That's what that stuff is. It's got a food grade interior, cold cell foam insulation. It's closed cell, so it doesn't leak out, and D rings, so you can tape it, attach it to the deck of your boat, or even just into your kayak or whatever. The little Yeti Hopper holds 12 cans. 3.2 gallons, and if you put that Yeti ice in there, it'll hold a lot. The little Yeti Hopper Flip. The Flip. Next, we got this big Kubota sidekick over here, and it's the RTV XG850. It's been on our set for a while. It's a very nice ATV that you can use for work as well. A lot of the times they would have it as just a work or a speed fun, but this blurs that line. You can do carry heavy stuff in it, and it's still fun to drive. It'll go 40 miles an hour. It's got 48 horsepower,
Gasoline engine.
A gas engine. It's really impressive acceleration and torque. So it's a lot of fun. It'd be a lot of fun. It holds a 2,000-pound towing capacity.
Right.
You can put 1,000 pounds of gear in the back. And so, you can work with it and have a lot of fun with it. My wife would love to have that thing.
I think I need one of those for the Bahamas. What do you think?
I think so, brother. I think that would be great.
Yeah.
I love that thing.
All right.
So next, we got some Starbite products. Like we said, this is the Stains 101. During the month of May at the Academy Sports, all the Starbite products are on sale. So for the whole month of May. So you can go in there and stock up on all your summer's needs. We're going to start. We got 4 different solutions to the stain problem that you're going to find on the boat. The first is our non-skid deck cleaner, and all good offshore boats have a non-skid deck, and they are great at collecting dirt and grime. And in my case, dog footprints. My little dog jumps in the mud and then gets on the boat, and it's like I got little leopard prints all the way around the boat. And this stuff really knocks it out. It's not a soap. It's a special liquid that uses chelating agents to break the bond of the dirt and the non-skid. And once you get that on there, it just knocks it right off.
Bleach is not a friend of fiberglass boat.
Exactly, and it's biodegradable as well. You can use it around the water. This is the instant hull cleaner. If you have any kind of water stains, leaf stains from tannic water, or rust especially, every little screw, when it gets in salt water, you get those little rust stains. This stuff melts it right away. All you got to do is spray it on, let it sit on there, and rinse it off. You usually don't even need a brush or anything with this stuff. I mean, it's really strong and gets the stuff right off. It's also good if you wanted to, prep for a polish or a repaint or anything.
Right.
This stuff will really take off all the old junk.
All you guys that fish in the Everglades as well as the West Coast, tannic water stains the hulls of our boat. This is the stuff you spray on. You spray it on there, wipe it off, And guess what? Now you're ready to wax it.
Yep, and it can also be used around water as well. We have the mildew stain remover. You know, if you any hatch on a boat, when it gets wet in there and you close the hatch and it stays closed, you have a chance of growing mildew. Well, this kills mildew on contact. It's, you know, you spray it on in there and it dies. And it's safe for all vinyl and fiberglass,
right?
Which, you know, bleach is not. It will
correct.
dry it out, and you can use that in your showers, in your garage, all over your boat, and it kills mildew just
all
like you want.
inside your hatches.
Correct. And then next we have the Magic Sponge, which is a scuff and streak eraser. You know, it's an all-purpose cleaner. They got all those little nano micro bubbles in there, so that it just scrubs stuff away. So you don't even have to really.
The XL.
Yeah, you don't have to get real hard on it. It's really got a good yellow section inside that's firm and gives you a good grip. If you've ever used these before without that, you know that you'll be scrubbing with it and it'll start to disintegrate.
Right.
This one won't. These are really long lasting. You just get it a little wet.
Two-sided.
Exactly, and then go to work on whatever you're doing and it'll work.
And you know, Dave, it's always really important, soft bristle brush.
Correct.
You know, if you've got to use something that's harder than a soft bristle brush, then you need to be picking up the sponge.
Right.
And the reason why is the sponge will get the scuffs off with all of these, treatments. But more importantly, you don't want to scratch up your gel coat or your fiberglass.
Right.
It just makes it so much harder to clean the next time.
That's right.
Starbright. At Academy on sale.
All the month of May.
All Starbright products.
I love those Starbright products.
Yes,
They're
you
the
do.
best.
Yeah.
They're the best.
Now that you have a
Especially that
baby, you
magic
know
sponge.
about that.
I do. I clean my baby with Starbright. No bleach.
She's a star.
All right, let's get into the Casa Vieja Southeast region with Captain Jimbo Thomas and see what he thinks about fishing with a rod in one hand and a paddle in the other. Talk to us, Jimbo.
Hey, Rick, Bree, and Dave. Well, you know, paddle boards and kayaks, they just keep getting bigger and bigger. And before long, they're going to be boats again, I think. But, you know, a lot of these new kayaks and paddle boards, they're equipped with electronics, rod holders, bait wells, and that makes them great for both inshore and offshore fishing. Now, the biggest advantage of paddle boards and kayaks, especially when you're fishing inshore, is that they can get in some really skinny water and they're really quiet, which makes it great for sneaking up on those spooky inshore fish like snook, tarpon, bonefish, and permit. Then also, most of the beaches and boat ramps throughout the region, they're kayak and paddleboard friendly. And in most areas, it's only a 2 to 2.5 mile paddle to get offshore into the deep water, from which I'm told is about a 45 to 60 minute paddle. Put a Yamaha on the back. I like that better. But, you know, it's not uncommon for kayakers fishing offshore to catch sailfish, kingfish, and mahis along the edge of the Gulf Stream, and then up on the reef, they're catching groupers and snappers on the reef. And then kayaks and paddleboards are also a great way to explore the Everglades and also fish the urban lake and canal system if you're looking for largemouth and peacock bass, especially on days when the wind's blowing too hard to get offshore. That's a great way to get on the water. Now, personally, I've never been on a kayak or a paddleboard. I prefer a much more stable fishing platform like the Thomas Flyer. Now, I got a photo here, and this is our good friend of the show, Kwanzaa Henderson, with a beautiful slot-sized snook that he caught off of his Old Town Predator kayak. So staying inshore, there's been quite a few bonefish and permit being caught in South Biscayne Bay, and a paddleboard would be a great way to sneak up on those bonefish. Our good friend Captain Joe Gonzalez, he says that with this nice weather, it's got the bonefish and permit biting, and the fishing's really picked up. He's been finding these bonefish on the flats from Soldiers Key south of Caesars Creek, and they've been on top of the flats tailing and mudding on the lower tide stages. And then there's these bigger permit. They've been around the Ragged Key areas. The permit have been in the channels as well as the hard bottom flats on the ocean side. And he's been fishing the bonefish with skimmer jigs and live shrimp and the sized crabs and crab pattern flies. Now, Joe told me he had one day in the past week where he caught and released 22 bonefish on a half-day trip. Half those fish were on live shrimp. The other half were on jigs. Now, I got a photo here of a beautiful Biscayne Bay bonefish caught by Jessica Richardson. She was fishing with Captain Joe.
That's a great picture, man.
That is a nice picture. All right, now moving offshore, sailfish have been coming through in really good numbers the last few days, and there's been quite a few double-digit catches made in the last week, mainly because the fishing conditions have been really good along the Gulf Stream with blue water and north current. But those conditions can change at any given time. We might go out tomorrow and have green water, so you never know. Now, the best fishing has been in 100 to 250 feet of water using live baits. Down here in the Miami area, we've been using herrings, goggle-eyed pilchards, sardines. Whatever you can get, though, throughout the region typically is going to work. And we've been fishing those live baits under the kites on the days that we've had enough wind. Then on the calm days, we've been drifting or slow trolling those live baits and getting bites. But I do like to fish the kite. I think you get a lot more bites. It makes it a lot better bait presentation. Now, we've been fishing with 40-pound fluorocarbon leaders and 6.0 to 7.0 circle hooks. And we've been going with those lighter leaders mainly because there's been some blackfin tuna around. But for the sailfish, if you're strictly sailfishing, mono leader up to 60 pounds will work. There's been a lot of multiple hookups, and if you can get your bait in front of any free jumping sails, it'll result in a bite most of the time. And then, like I mentioned, the blackfin tuna bite's been consistent with fish in the 15 to 30-pound range, and we've been catching those blackfins in the same areas as the sailfish. Now, the tunas have been biting throughout the day, but if you can get out early in the morning or fish late in the afternoon just before sunset, that's when they're going to bite the best. Now, I like to use live pilchards and herrings for those blackfins, fish them under the kite, and use light fluorocarbon leaders on small circle hooks. That's what's been working best for us aboard the Thomas Flyer. And we've been going as light as 30-pound leaders, which typically isn't a problem with the tunas, but when you get a sailfish, it could be a little challenging at that point with those lighter leaders. There's also been some blackfin tuna caught on the troll using small feathers in the 150 to 400-foot range, but the larger fish are definitely being caught on the live bait.
All right, Jimbo, thanks. Great report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the R&R tackle hotspots from the southeast region. Jimbo says inshore, get an early start on the outside flats of Biscayne Bay and fish with the small live crabs, crab pattern flies, and skimmer jigs for the tailing bonefish and permit on the lower stages of the tide. And then offshore, look for the mixed bag of sailfish, blackfin tunas, kingfish, dolphin, fish with live baits under a kite in 100 to 300 feet of water. The late afternoon and early evening bite has been on fire.
I can tell Jimbo's a big fan of paddleboarding and kayaks.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Yeah. They can't
Love
carry
him.
enough Budweiser on those
I was going to
kayaks
say,
for
he
him.
loves to work out. So, hey guys, if you're in the area, make sure to check out the Broward CCA banquet presented by Starbright on May 2nd at Hughes Culinary in Oakland Park. Go to ccaflorida.org/Broward chapter for tickets and more information. All right, anglers, we're headed to the north and southwest region next, so get your paddles ready to paddle. And remember to be informed on what this crazy, fun crew is doing and all things fishing in Florida. Make sure to visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, watch us on YouTube, and check us out on Instagram. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala, another great day. Startron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Yeti, built for the wild. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. And Strike Zone Fishing.
Hello, Harbor Truck fans. Lee Titchworth, Fleet and Commercial Manager here at Harbor Trucks with Chris Freeland, owner of Harbor Trucks, and Fred Tuhn, owner of Howard's Pool World. Fred, why do you buy your trucks from us?
Well, it's the people, the product, and the processes. The 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty is just icing on the cake. I strongly suggest Harbor Trucks.
Harbor Trucks, the place to buy your next truck.
Oh, there it is. You can either stay busy fishing or get busy catching. From Texas to Tampa Bay or Key West to the Carolinas and beyond. For For nearly 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites. Ask for Fish Bites and Fish Bites Fight Club lures by name or visit fishbites.com.
Find Florida's soul and discover Crystal River. Explore warm Gulf waters, spring-fed rivers, bountiful lakes, and fantastic fishing. Dive into adventure and enjoy the only place in the world where you can swim with the manatees. Treat yourself and your family to outdoor fun, rich history, and a relaxed coastal lifestyle. Discover Crystal River, Florida.
So, Brie,
Yes.
look at the new XTO.
Oh, shoot. It's so
425 up in there.
Oh, my goodness.
Whoa. Where are we going?
Love you, Yamaha.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back, guys. Let's jump back into some CCA star info. If you fish from a kayak, canoe, or paddleboard, you can fish the Old Town Kayak Division, with first place being an Old Town Predator PDL with pedal console, but paddle anglers can enter any of the divisions to win their share of $500,000 in prizes and scholarships. The competition begins May 25th for 101 days of fishing. Catch, photo, release, and win. It's that easy. So register today, www.ccafloridastar.com. Hey, that's good.
I like it.
Divisions for everybody.
They do.
All right, let's check in with the Discover Crystal River Northwest region and see just how much fun you're going to have this weekend with Captain Jeff Hagman. Tell us, Hag.
Well, kayaks, canoes, and paddleboards are a great and stealthy way to fish my region. They're less expensive and a whole lot less maintenance than a regular boat. You can also get in places that boats can't get into. We got a lot of rock in our area, and you can tear up some lower units, so you can get in there a lot sooner than most of the guys on power boats. So it's great for that. It's also really good for spooky fish. You can get in there and move around a whole lot more than you can wading. You can cover a whole lot more area. And as far as redfish tailing, there's probably nothing more stealthy than getting in there with something you're paddling in. And we've got a ton of kayak canoe trails and paddleboard trails and Wheaton Island, Fort DeSoto. Great place to put in there, and a lot of trails to see our beautiful parks we have up here. But staying inshore, Captain Jimbo Keith of Saltwater Assassin Fishing Charters from Cedar Key reports a good inshore speckled trout bite right now. It's been pretty solid on both the incoming and outgoing tides. He said finding the flats with that 3 to 5 foot and finding that clean water has been the ticket. Light colors like Glow and Green Moon and that Bass Assassin are working really good right now. Moving up the coast and into the Panhandle, Captain JB with JB Charters out of Apalachicola says his speckled trout bite is mainly around the grass flats and Berry Island, so you're using a popping cork with a live shrimp or an artificial shrimp in that black and brown stripe color with just a little bit, 12 inches of fluorocarbon leader underneath between the cork and the bait. And I've got a photo here of a couple of nice West Coast trout.
Yes, you do.
Twofer.
Those looking good. What else you got, Bubba?
I got a couple reports from Crystal River. Captain Nick Warrington of High Octane Charters and Captain Mario Costello of Tunnel Terrace Charters. Mario's out of the plantation, but they're both seeing large schools of redfish right now on the outer mangrove points and oyster bars. Live shrimp, pinfish, pitched up tight to the shoreline has been Nick's go-to baits. And fish have been averaging anywhere from 20 to 30 inches. And Captain Mario says locating the schools of mullet right now are the best bet. Live shrimp on an 1/8-ounce jig head is what he's been using mostly on the incoming tide, and his fish have been averaging the same size. And I believe they've got most of our Tampa Bay redfish. I think they're all moving that way. So going up the coastline a little bit more, Captain JB Charters reports out of that Apalachicola area. His redfish bite has been on the outside beaches. He's using Carolina rigs with 3/4 ounces of lead, 10 inches of fluorocarbon leader, a 2/0 hook, and he's using fish bites and then tipping them with shrimp. I've got a couple great redfish photos. Both of them are from Nick and Captain Mario.
Nice.
Some good redfish right there.
Yes, sir. All right, so let me get some offshore love.
All right, the black tuna bite has been going super strong right now in the south half of my region over hard bottom, artificial reefs and wrecks, high relief structures, and even behind shrimp boats. You want to keep an eye out once you get out there for breaking water, anything that's busting the water. You want to look for birds, bait, and I'm talking about in that 80 to 130 is where most of these fish are being caught. a well full of sardines. If you take your time, fill up your well, get a lot of sardines, get out there, get in these spots. If you see them busting, pull up to them, start chumming. You keep them fired up right next to the boat. Big topwater chuggers are working really good too, and butterfly jigs, those little 3-ounces, have been working real good too. And I've got a photo here of average blackfin tuna in our area.
All right, great job, Hag. Great report from the Crystal River Northwest region, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at anytime sunscreen and mosquito repellent hotspots. He says inshore, snook on the outgoing tide around the passes and beaches, use live pennies or sardines as bait. And then offshore, hogfish, grunt, sea bass on flat rocks and sand bottom, use cut fresh shrimp on a knocker rig.
Man, I'm telling you, I love the anytime.
Yeah.
It works so well.
No seams.
They're gone.
No more.
You don't see them.
No see them.
No see them. All right, now we're making a splash in the Bell's Southwest region with Captain Ronnie Houston. What's going on this weekend, Ronnie?
Well, it's always a pleasure to represent the Bell Southwest region. You know, kayaking and canoeing in my region has become really popular over the years due to the variety of beaches, passes, grass flats, and really the easy access to launch. And because of that, beach and pass access, you can catch snook, tarpon, jacks, mackerel, ladyfish by simply using something like a light tackle rod and an inexpensive reel like an Okuma Inspira 30 series, and then maybe adding a silver spoon, white bucktail, or live shrimp to catch some fish. But you can also access passes to fish bridges, intercoastal docks, and seawalls. And you know what? You can catch snook, tarpon, black trum, sheephead, mangrove snapper, and that's due to the structure and barnacle growth. But then also, like we had that bad front last weekend, you can fish these on a windy day because you're going to be sheltered. Now, if you're interested in doing some kayaking or canoeing in some places in the region to help you get you started up in the northern end of the Port Charlotte area, West Wall Outfitters has really become a big outfitter of a variety of kayaks. Get in there and talk to Josh. Tell him we sent you. But then in the middle half, Chokoloskee Charters down in the Everglades region with Captain Charles Wright. And then Lovers Key State Park Adventures up in Bonita. They have a variety of kayaks and kayak places to get you out, show you how to get some kayaking done. Now, in the inshore report, you know, down in the southern end, we've had snook season open, and it's getting ready to close in the next week. So I'm going to tell you, we got a minor front coming in this weekend. Marco south to the 10,000 Islands and Pavilion Key to Lofton's River, fishing the outer Gulf Islands with good moving water on the last half of the incoming and the first half of the outgoing tide. But also, if the wind picks up on Friday with that front pushing through, a good nighttime bite along the intercoastal docks and seawalls following the back half of this full moon until dawn. Baits of choice can be live pilchards, live shrimp, topwater walk-the-dog lures, half-ounce silver spoons, and the Bass Assassin 4-inch sea shad in white, copper juice, and root beer on a quarter-ounce jig head. And I got a nice picture of some nighttime snooking that was just done with a nice-sized snook with my buddy, Michael Tucker. Now, on the offshore side, the front we had last week was pretty tough for guys to get out, but guys like Captain Corey McGuire to the north is telling me mangrove snapper and yellowtail sniper bite is back on. He's telling me to the north, anywhere right now from Stump Bass towards Fort Myers Beach, where as long as we have moderate weather in between this front that's coming through this weekend, fish ledges and wrecks in 90 to 115 feet of water for good quality fish. Now, Corey says he's using live pilchards and cut sardines have been working really great. 2 to 3/0 circle hook, 30-pound fluorocarbon, flatlined, or you got to look if the fish are down in the water column, 1 to 3 ounces of weight, depending upon where the fish are. He's telling me chumming is the key. When you get them going, lighten up, use the cut baits. I got a couple great pictures of some nice mangrove and yellowtail caught with Captain Corey McGuire to the north. Also, red groupers down to the south. Captain Mike Avenant says the red grouper bite has still been consistent from Naples to Fort Myers Beach. He also says when you have moderate weather in the front, the bite is good. He's telling me good moving water has to be the key in 90 to 110 feet, fishing hard bottom using cut squid, herring, and sardines. He's telling me the tide slacks up, the bite tapers off. You just need to be patient for that current to pick back up. And I got a nice picture of a young gentleman who's a big fan of watching the show with a nice grouper caught with Captain Mike Avenant.
So, Ronnie, you know, I got to ask you something. I know that you love throwing the Bass Assassins. Now, as we're starting to get a little rain, how are you going to adjust the baits that you're using by Bass Assassin?
Well, let me tell you something. You know, I really don't have to adjust. I'm either going to use a 5-inch bait like a die dapper, or I'm going to downsize if the fish get a little bit finicky and can see the bait like the sea shad. But I will tell you one thing. Whether it's bass fishing, snook fishing, tarpon fishing,
One bait that's really hard to beat and versatile out of all the soft plastics that man has is the 5-inch dye dapper. You can catch fish all over the state of Florida, whether it be fresh or salt. That would be the lure I'd use, the 5-inch Bass Assassin dye dapper.
All right, thank you so much. Great report from the Bells, Rio Legends, Southwest region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Caddy Can hotspots from the Southwest region. He says inshore, you're going to go trout, York Key to Panther Key, fishing areas with grass and potholes in 2 to 4 feet of water using live shrimp with corks and artificial shrimps on jig heads or rapala skitter walks. And then offshore, permit. The bite is starting to heat up in Naples to Sanibel, fishing wrecks using live crabs, shrimp, and small tube lures. You know what, Brie? What's so cool about that is a dye dapper with a paddle tail, you just simply throw it out and reel it back. Don't twitch it, just let the tail do the vibrating.
Keep it simple. You know that Ronnie always has an answer for everything.
He does. He's
so
really
good.
sharp.
We've got the best captains.
We do.
Are you ready to party?
I am.
Okay, you guys better be ready to party because we are hosting the CCA Homestead Banquet and Auction Thursday, May 16th at the Homestead Miami Speedway. The fun begins at 6 p.m. with a live auction, raffle, silent auction, and open bar. Tickets are going pretty fast, so get them now at ccaflorida.org. We're already in May.
The rumor has it there's only 18 to 20 tickets left out of 300.
And I have a feeling that's not a rumor.
I have a feeling I know.
You know. All right, our last captain is in the Fish Bites East region, and he's up next when we return on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. So stay hooked, and we will be right back.
Look at that, pretty tight.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Harbor Trucks. Visit harbortrucks.com. Yamaha, reliability starts here. Suffix, always use the best line. The IGFA, Fish for the World. Sportsman's Adventures, fishing for adventure. And Bells, everything you need to live life local.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO offshore.
Life out here tastes sweeter with the freedom to roam at 40 miles per hour. The power to haul whatever needs hauling. And best-in-class acceleration and handling with cargo. The new gas-powered Kubota Sidekick is purpose-built for speed, fun, and to get the job done right. Now, get the new Kubota Sidekick for $0 down and payments as low as $196 a month.
Find a Kubota dealer near you at gokubota.com.
Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Kick your gas into gear with StarTron.
Harbor Trucks has the largest selection of new and used car and truck inventory in Southwest Florida. Our used vehicle inventory goes through a 120-point inspection process performed by certified technicians. Exclusive to Florida Insider Fishing Report viewers is our Peace of Mind Harbor Truck warranty. If you don't see what you're looking for, give us a call and we can get it for you. Go to harbortrucks.com and click on the Florida Insider Fishing Report tab.
Today's Power Pole tip is about the Power Pole spike. Now, it's really important to have the right presentation. These tarpon and permit are swimming down the edge of the flat, and by only using the power pole off the back, the wind would blow us up on the flat and we wouldn't be laying on the edge where we're waiting for these fish to swim by. So, the great part about the spike is it allows us to manipulate the way the boat lays in the channel and in the current and wind. The other thing that we use the spike for is when we go down sandbarring, a lot of times you have a lot of extra rope when anchoring, and that can be problematic. People will run over your ropes. You also have to have one at the front and one at the back because of the current and the wind. So by utilizing 2 spikes, it's absolutely perfect. Now remember, the spike comes with a rope already attached, so simply all you gotta do is stick it in the sand. And that's today's power pole tip.
And that's your power pole tip.
It's all about the position. You gotta have the right presentation with current and stuff. In this, for the little boats, it makes it perfect.
Yep, it's all in the details.
Spike.
All right, let's go fishing in the Fish Bites East region with Captain Holiday, where if you take your Yacker paddleboard, you can fish where no one else does. Right, Mike?
That's pretty much the deal, Brie. The nice thing about canoes, kayaks, and stand-up paddleboards is that they get you away from those areas that get a lot of fishing pressure. And that may mean just getting away from shore. They're also portable, so you can launch them from shore just about anywhere. So places like Twin Rivers Park, Torpy Road, Round Island Park, MacArthur Park, and basically all along A1A in any of the counties of my region, they have public access for paddlecrafts. You can also check out Kayak Fishing Club of Palm Beaches, Loxahatchee Canoeing, South River Outfitters in Stewart, or the Savannah's Recreation Area in Fort Pierce for paddle fishing opportunities that are local. In October, there's the DOA Paddlers Only Tournament that's out of Stewart. Now, what I've noticed in the last few years, I've been seeing a lot of paddle anglers fishing the beaches. They're working those reefs in 15 to 20 feet of water off the St. Lucie Power Plant, up in North Beach and Fort Pierce, and up in the Vero Cove. So right now, there's acre-sized schools of jumbo jack crevalle running the beaches with a lot of bluefish and the occasional cobia in the mix for them to fish. In another couple of weeks, a tarpon will start pouring out of the Keys and migrating along those same reefs. And you can paddle out at any of the public beach accesses and pitch a swimming plug or a saltwater sass in soft plastic at those tarpon, hook up a fish, and get a tow around the Atlantic. So moving on to some of the fish, in St. Lucie and Indian River counties, there's been a steady sea trout fight between dawn and 9 a.m. Look for the seagrass beds around Bear Point, Midway Road, St. Lucie Village, the Spoil Islands off Harbor Branch, and the flats off the moorings. The school trout have been in the grass. The larger trout have been holding in the sandy potholes on the flats and around the deeper troughs that are around the Spoil Islands. The real key, look for mullets. The fish are really keyed in on the mullet schools right now. You can fish them with a saltwater assassin, 5 or 6 inch shad, dark colors right now like Calcasieu Brew or Houdini. My favorite color this time of the year is fish drunk monkey. Work them along the drop-offs and edges in 2 to 4 feet of water. In the middle of the day, you can switch to a live pinfish or sand perch, fish them under a rattle cork. Average sea trout in my region is going to be 2 to 4 pounds, but there's bigger fish. I got a photo there. That's Kevin Button. That's a 30-inch sea trout. He caught that on a live thread fin. He was fishing with Jason Arman of That's Our Man, land-based fishing charters out of St. Lucie County.
That is so awesome, man. All right, what you got offshore, Hollywood?
Well, coming off the full moon in April, the snapper bites picked up for a mixed bag of mangrove, mutton, and yellowtail snapper. There's certainly more mangrove snapper on the north end of my region, particularly in that 65 to 85-foot ledges and all the way up around Bethel Shoals and also off the 12A buoy. The best mutton snapper bite has been to the south off the Loran Tower ledge and the reef off Jupiter Inlet, but there's also good concentrations of muttons right now anywhere the kingfish are holding. It seems like the muttons like to get under those kingfish schools and eat the scraps that sink to the bottom when a king cuts the tail off of a bait fish. So for tackle, you want 20 to 50-pound gear, 40 to 60-pound fluorocarbon, and a 4.0 to 6.0 VMC tournament circle hook, depending on the size of your bait. For bait, it's pretty hard to beat a sardine or a cigar minnow, but pilchers, thread fins, grunt plugs, those are really good options for mutton snapper right now. The average snapper right now is under 10 pounds. Average mutton is like in the 6 to 8 pound range. The other thing we got going for the guys who focus on catching cobia, the guys who pay attention to it, the bite's been pretty consistent off the sand pile off Stewart and also on the wrecks in 65 to 90 feet of water in St. Lucie County and Indian River County, so up on the north end of the region. There's been a few fish in close to the beach. Those fish are mostly on stingrays on the bottom. There's also been a few fish on loggerhead turtles that they're finding offshore. The key right now to catching cobia is being prepared before you leave the inlet. Rig a rod specifically for cobia. Put a chartreuse jig or a saltwater assassin didapper, or a saltwater assassin chartreuse shad. Any of those baits will work really well. You just have to have a rod ready to cast a cobia that may pop up to the boat because you may only get one chance. You can also rig up with a live shrimp, a threadfin, a mullet, or a pilchard. Average cobia they're seeing 8 to 30 pounds. Most of the big ones have been picked through. I got a photo. That's Cody Rubner. That's a nice cobia he caught off a manta ray. That fish was sight cast with a chartreuse jig on a Ricky Red rod.
All right, way to go, dudes. And keep catching them on the Ricky Red rod. Go ahead. All right, tell me about the bass, Bub.
Well, the water level on Lake Okeechobee right now is around 11.5 feet, and that's got the bass pushed out of the marsh and more towards the open water areas of the lake. In fact, you can't even get back in the marsh. It's so shallow. I was talking to Scott Martin of Roland and Marianne Martin's Marine in Clewiston. He was saying the shad are starting to spawn along those deeper grass piles and bulrushes in that deeper open area off Observation Shoal. They are on the south end of the lake. That's created an outstanding dawn bite for the anglers that are throwing topwater plugs or a white swim jig or a spinner bait or a bass assassin jingle bug or crawfish. Any of those are working really good. Another good option is to fish the breaks in the Clewiston Channel. Wherever there's moving water, work the islands just outside the channel with a lipless crankbait or a Carolina or Texas rig worm, or you can throw a topwater plug in the shad colors. Average bass on Okeechobee right now, 1 to 3 pounds. You can catch up to 30 a morning, be off the water before the heat kicks in about 10:30. So, Lake Okeechobee is probably got the hottest bass bite going in Florida right now.
All right, thank you so much, Mike. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the TH Marine hotspots from the East Region inshore. Snook, they are on the seawalls of the North Fork of the St. Lucie River. Use topwater plugs, didappers, and live mullet on the high tide. And then offshore, king mackerel. They are along the reefs off of Jupiter. Use live sardines on a number 4 wire stinger rig with a number 4 4X strong VMC treble hook.
4 is the number.
4.
There you go. Well, the paddle reports are in, so grab whatever you can float on and get some exercise this weekend while catching fish. But before you go, stay tuned. We're telling you what we're fishing for next week right here on the Florida
Insider
Fishing
Report.
Wow.
How about it?
We're good.
Hello, Harbor Truck fans. Lee Titchworth, Fleet and Commercial Manager here at Harbor Trucks with Chris Freeland, owner of Harbor Trucks, and Fred Tuhn, owner of Howard's Pool World. Fred, why do you buy your trucks from us?
Well, it's the people, the product, and the processes. The 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty is just icing on the cake. I strongly suggest Harbor Trucks.
Harbor Trucks, the place to buy your next truck.
Master your most challenging offshore experience with confidence and ease with Yamaha Helmmaster. Precise, intuitive control on the open seas. Unrivaled ease for maneuvering and docking in port. And now SetPoint adds 3 new dimensions to boat control. Maintain boat position with fish point, or a position and heading with stay point, or a heading while you drift with drift point. Yamaha Helmmaster, now with SetPoint. Complete digital control for today's larger offshore boats.
For the bass that thinks it's a bulldog. For the walleye that thinks it's a freight train. For the tuna that thinks it's a torpedo. For the tarpon that thinks it's a tarpon. You need the mono that thinks it's a braid. Suffix Advance. New Advanced Mono with HMPE braid molecules for strength, abrasion resistance, and low stretch. Suffix Advance. The mono that thinks it's a braid.
Be sane. Don't fritter away your time. Create. Act. Take a place wherever you are. And be somebody. Get action.
Make sure to tune in next week because we are talking about dolphin, and from what I've seen from the reports, we're going to have some pretty good pictures of some dolphin.
Yeah,
we're
man.
We're going to tell you guys how to catch them.
Big 50-pounder?
not do enough?
That was
50
crazy.
pounder.
I think we should all go on a field trip and all go kayak fishing or paddleboarding.
A field trip.
Yeah.
Can you get somebody to paddle mine for me?
No.
And
No.
I can just ride along?
That's the point. It'll be great.
That would
It'll
be the
so
best.
fun.
I'd be like one
That's
of
our
those
next
people in
YouTube show.
Everglades National
All
Park.
right, guys, thanks for tuning
Jason,
in.
bring
We'll
it
see you
around.
next week. We're catching dolphin.
Yeah,
Bye.
I love the
Paddle,
dolphin.
paddle, paddle.